Alright, this is Rick the Fat Man. Welcome to your seat at the table. And I realized I didn't have an opening picture for this next installment, and this one just kind of popped up. This is me on my Shetland pony when I was a kid. Anyhow, we are looking at Raiders of Cardolan, a ready-to-roll fantasy adventure module for MERP, produced by Rollmaster and Iron Crown Enterprises back in the day. So let's take a look at it. This is the second piece that goes with Thieves of Tharbad, and for Cardolan specifically, copyright 1988 when I purchased this. And so we have guidelines handling player characters, conversion charts, adapting the module to your NPC list, introduction to the Black Cake. So between the mouths of the rivers Beffraen and the Guatho, there lies a large peninsula nearly 30 leagues across, over 100 leagues long, whose resides are so immaculate, INIMICA, as to bracken the name of the entire promotion. Look, never mind. The Beffraen the best. Just to say there was some Petty-dwarves, the last of the Petty-dwarves, the plot. Basically, we got 2.5 centuries after its defeat, the Orc armies of the Witch King Angmar are not recovered. In order to finish off Arthedain and the Northern Dunedain in the week of the Great Plague, the Lord of Nuskull requires other pawns to supplement his planned invasion from Brador. A blow from the south, including the Beffraen and the barbarians of the Saralin, led by a half-troll warlord, would have been ideal. However, the Witch King's efforts to bring off the Beffraen from their ancient debased practices to the modern usages of Dark Legend failed, and with it his hopes of raising the false canon to crown the Saralin. The southern invasion might have failed except for the personal interests of the necromancer Dolgur Sauron. Sauron hates those of the dark religion who do not worship him as the avatar of Morgoth, with a loathing usually reserved for the mightiest elf lords. Fortunately, he is also aware of the Petty-dwarves of the Rastvorn, and knows they could raise an army of undead from their graves, although the use of the rare stones and unspeakable rituals. Such metals are available to him in the Far Herod, so he commissioned an Umbar pirate to bring them to the Cape. The Beffraen would then be cowed by the undead army, and could then be used to bring about the false Kenneth's victory, after which the desired invasion would proceed, etc., etc. The task is the master of a small port town in northern Saralin. Saralin is this offshoot in western Cardolan of a number of hillmen or Dunedain lords that paid lip service to the king of Cardolan, but when the Cardolan fails or falls, started up their own little kingdom. And Gandalf gets involved a little bit briefly in some canon or beta canon sources. He was trying to encourage them to be on the good side of things, not the bad guy side of things. So it shows that even after the fall of Arnor, there's still some aspects of things going on down in this region that would justify having interest in it. Master of the Carrick Fergus, small port town in northern Saralin. The Cospatrians just learned that the ship smuggling arms to the false Cennaigh was attacked by the Beffraen. See, so there's references in here that. Anyway, so here's the little town of Carrick Fergus. Counter with at Terrath Chifadok. Casa Patrick's maps lead to the heart of the Beffraen territory in the Rastvorn. Let's see. Of course, there's the Rastvorn. So there's an area way down here on the coast. The Mithrod and the Elvish kingdoms and stuff over here, and then this way down there's this outrocking thing. That's the area in congestion. It's mostly a very isolated region that's still primitive in a lot of aspects. Meeting the Beffraen, both routes lead to the Narrowset, the valley of the river, one of the larger settlements within the Black Wood. Cospatrick will have to let the adventurers to expect an ambush, a comparatively friendly reception. Actually, ambush will be waiting for them roughly 5 miles from the village in either route. And the answer at the village itself Cheryl held hostage. I just find this thing because I'm stumbling away. I usually don't like reading these really opening things because it just makes things. So the dangers to the Rastborn are such that little explored even during the height of the northern Dunedain kingdom Arnor. From the Ice Bay of Fortune to the Sea of Rune to the Far Hera is the least known region of all western Endor. For Yens are 144 years in Elvish. The Rastborn has enforced its isolation and in turn has not troubled the outside world of certain planets not afoot. Beffraen, if only glimpsed out of the corner of one eye, which is usually the most likely manner of seeing one, might easily mistake a Beffraen for a large hobbit or a particularly stealthy dwarf. This error is rarely excusable, but the Beffraen are usually long-sundered cousins of the Woes, etc. And sometime in the Elder Days, the mighty, I can pronounce that name, Mighty Stoom is better known as Morgoth, seduced their ancestors. Become the original halves Rastborn, being soon forgotten by their master. They grew somewhat in physical stature. The Beffraen lost most of their distinct magical skills as well as especially the ability to enchant wood or stone. However, they remain in most subtle ways, most subtle in the ways of wood. Indeed, they must in order to survive the Rastborn. The Rastborn is pretty dangerous locations. A lot of critters and other things that can get you. The late Cheryl was a young oracle. Keeps talking about somebody of great power coming. Instructed Beffraen to aid in the cause of a false pretender to the throne of the kingdom of Cardolan, roughly the land between the Rastborn and the Gwathra River. The Chronicles of Miller tell many tales of those seeking to avoid their doom, brought it about, etc., etc. So, yeah, we're trying to thwart Sauron's interests in the region. So, Cyril held hostage. As it says, Trap Caravan is able to overrun Cheryl's bodyguards and hold up a terrace Shadok. Site can only be approached from one direction. It lies in an area very popular with the Umanahan, or the tree horrors, basically little flying frogs that are highly poisonous. The NPCs. Costrix, the master of the Carrickfergus, one of the few local lords of the Sarlund who can trace his blood back to the Dunedain nobility of old. He's 46 years old. Odo Ethod. Terrace Chidok layouts. The Beffraen were originally drawn to this site, so the Beffraen town and holy site. The task. Primary objective is to capture the false Cennaigh, dead or alive. The half-orc is now holed up in a defensible spot with his Beffraen enemies neutralized. This will prove more difficult than the party may be led to believe. The secondary mission is establishing better relations between Carrickfergus and the inhabitants of the Outer Cape, which largely largely rest on their ability to rescue Cheryl. It's also critical that they begin to unravel the Necromancer's plot and brewing in the Rastborn. Aids, obstacles, rewards, encounters. Following persons, groups, or things may be encountered on the way to Carrickfergus. The monsters of the Blackwood. Small group of local forest trolls. Yeah. And the black fires, otherwise poisonous gliding frogs, or Hurons even. Nothing like a halfway living tree that's not going to ruin your day. Beffraen ambush, the watchers of the log. The false Cennaigh. Although this he does not lack for certain animal courage or fighting abilities, the false hero has not gotten this far by fighting his own battles. He will not join the melee unless he's forced to. So all comes while he is in his Cennaigh person, the pretender might attempt some negotiations, though he does possess a roguish charm and can spin a good tale. There's hardly imagine any basis for agreement. Practically speaking, so basically you're trying to catch this guy who's being used as a tool. Sea raiders. Now this is the next adventure. Basically people raiding passing ships and you're going to put a stop to it. Sea raiders mission. Their layout. The coast of Eredor, not unfamiliar to the current makers of the prioritical city of Umbar. In past years, when there was peace among the high men at western Endor, the trade at Cardolan prospered. It was not that unusual for southern merchants to venture northern waters seeking the fine woolens and linens of Tharbad. However, times have grown darker, and such a village has not been made for over 200 years. Some of the mariners of the north are not completely unfamiliar with piracy, etc., etc. It was basically dealing with pirates and their little hideout. Some of the pirates that you might encounter include Belwin Mardos, this reputable character here. Being an illegitimate daughter of Bertha Dinadane, Lord of Umbar, who at the height of his career was one of the captains of the Havens, one of the Argolites of Umbar. Her paternity is undeniable, for Belwin is a huge woman at 6'7", 305 pounds. Never acknowledged her as a daughter. Her father did grease the wheels for Belwin to begin her career as a captain of one of Umbar's married raiding vessels. So she's leader of the raiding group and some of her cohorts. BC's the task. Adventures at Midas Thon Fallon begin with the parties called to fulfill an agreement they'd make the Beffraen in order to acquire the false Cennaigh, or just its head. They will quickly discover that helping the Beffraen deal with the strange invaders of the coast means the adventurers get to do it. England will not be shy about getting hysterical about Sherry's damaged condition in order to kindle their enthusiasm. On the surface, the player's task is one of killing and capturing the pirates. They can be satisfied destruction of the Sea Raiders' vessel, which seal the invaders' fate, unless the mission of their leaders is successful. However, it should have become clear to the players that Cennaigh was no immediate danger of losing Beffraen's support. His attack was inexplicable. The presence of these southerners in the ruins of a castle in the middle of a dreadful swamp on the Rastwarn is downright bizarre. Hopefully they will determine that something is going on, and will generate their own motivations for investigating. Unless their attack on Midas Thon Fallon is wantonly destructive, there should be plenty of clues as to suggest the leaders of the Sea Raiders have set off for Bar and Ivan, and perhaps it would be a good idea to follow them. Yeah, we want to go follow them to the last citadel of the Petty-dwarves. Then we got aids, obstacles, rewards, counters, expedition to the Petty-dwarves. At this point in time, running into Belwin and her party is to be avoided, and Beffraen and his rangers have selected a new route out of the Mora Hell, and no better than the finest Hell Haze. Worst of all, the Mora Hell Cougar band will be able to summon 6 to 11 mule lips on short notice to help them in the fight. Fell creatures on Mora Hell. The efforts of Sea Raiders have reduced the threat of Hummer Horns and Mule Lips. The immediate area minus Thon Fallon reduced the randomly encountered numbers by 50%. Hummer are really big, nasty birds, and of course our poisonous flying frogs. It'd be probably more appropriate to call them gliding frogs, but they do say flying, so I'd have to look up the monster to see what it was. Hammer horns hunt in a sort of a scattered pack. Generally, one will attack first, with the fellows joining in individually in 1 to 2 round interviews. Humongous, they're mosquitoes, not birds. Races usually fight to the death. In contrast, cannibalistic spirits known as mulips prefer to take their prey in ambush. Try to set up a ring around the living and rise up from the waters more or less simultaneously. Their only virtue is that they're almost exclusively nocturnal, have a vague self-preservation instinct. They will try to retreat after being badly hurt. 20 to 80% of their hip die. These mulips mastered to serve as guards of the Sea Raiders are not quite as polaris. Their shimmering forms float above the water. Well, you probably will not surprise any attackers or spies. The Pirate Patrol, the Lookout, Sea Raiders on the Sigroman, off-duty watch, the officers, the orcs. The orcs are most malcontent force in the camp. Well, of course they're orcs. Alright. Into the Marital Adventure number 6, or third adventure as 6.0. 11 miles into the northeastern Nunset lies the lair of the Petty-dwarves, that the Beffraen refer to as Mirror Toll or the Great Hole. Might well be 100 times further away for all these two people. The Rastborn know of each other. Who would want to hang out with the Petty-dwarves? Besides those who reside there, the only persons on the Cape who are aware of the proper name of the Mirror Toll as bearer in Iden, or the house of Ibon, are the Belwyn and the evil priest with her. There was a conflict between the Beffraen and Petty-dwarves soon after the Longfathers first came to the Black Cape. This was so long ago, even the legends have been forgotten. Beffraen do not come near them, and they instantly slay any Petty-dwarves they catch. Even though several Petty-dwarves have been taken the last decade, few have been caught, for they do not stray far from their immediate vicinity, save at greatest need. Endless years of isolation are about to come to be rudely interrupted. The Petty-dwarves. So the Petty-dwarves are surely the most unattractive of all the speaking peoples. They are only as tall as a hairfoot hobbit, 3 to 4 feet, with a head normal of a dwarf, with a gnarled, twisted limbs, postures, an ancient dwarf who worked too long at the forges. Both sexes begin losing their head at early age, so their beards of the men are characteristically thin and wispy. Petty-dwarves usually wear heavy knee-length blah. A brief history of the Petty-dwarves, especially in the Rastborn. Petty-dwarf dwellings. The tale. It says here, within the head start departing of Martin Sterlon, the southerners will have reached Spur and Ivan first. Discovery of the site will be still inhabited was a disappointment and unneeded complication. With their slender resources, Belwyn declined to launch immediate assault and sought to reconnoiter and gain intelligence. Reconnoiter. She launched a small raid, take a couple prisoners, enough to though to little profit. Petty-dwarves now have hold up in Baron Ivan, and the language difficulties are proving to be intense. The language of the Petty-dwarves is a mess consisting largely of off-sendent vocabulary superimposed on the Beffraen grammar, with a half-dozen other tongues and local idioms thrown in. A diplomatic approach would be being too time-consuming. The captain of the Sea Raiders was working on a plan to penetrate the Mirror Toll. Seizes the section of the extensive tombs and then negotiate from its position of strength. If contact can be established, it will be extremely useful, since the Petty-dwarves are traditionally split into 3 quarrelsome clans. Currently, the clans are arguing over what to do with the Ilbeon, or the Star of Ivan, arguing over the last greatest of the enchanted elven gems they possess. Harnakel, the last Petty-dwarf women, leads the clan that has rolled through the years. They're thinning out. There's not that many of them left. They're getting old. Think they're going to be the last generation, since they haven't had any children. That's my understanding. The NPCs, etc., etc. Layouts of Erebin on the exterior, the caves, caverns, and the halls of the Petty-dwarves. Guard room. Belwyn's camp, the task, encounters. There you have it. Let's see, we got one last page. Yeah. Okay, there we go. The giant mosquitoes known as the hummerhorns. Yeah, that's what we need, is giant flying mosquitoes. Already see enough of them. Big enough. And there you have it. So this is a small adventure located in southeastern Cardolan, along the peninsula of the Black Forest, the Rathhorn, and etc. No big deal. Till next time, this is Rick, and this is your seat at the table.